My glasses, and you all look alike anyway to me. Black, yellow, blue, don't make a shit, you know. The only ones that really differentiate are when a woman has the thing over her head. I can tell that looks different to me. It looks like something like a cyclops from a horror movie without my glasses, you know. These things, these spots, look like skin hanging down from her head or something, you know. But, so there was no comments. There will be. There'll be, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. One of the, I think it was you that asked me a couple of days ago, what do I do to get out of my comfort zone? Did you? Well, y'all look. I mean, aren't you the crooked Dutchman? Yeah. Okay. I can tell that without my glasses on. Remember, a good portion of our Hall of Shame are Dutchmen. Yeah. But somebody asked me, and I think I commented that it's not easy for me to get out of my comfort zone. And when I met the Queen, I had a dry mouth, etc. When I first spoke at Oxford, the first couple minutes, the first maybe 20, 40 seconds, I had a dry mouth because for whatever reason. But the commentary from the kids, the peanut gallery, as I call them, when I'm talking to them, referring to them in a nice way, I call them peanut gallery. As you well know, that I call them a lot of other things over the years. Okay, last night, who did you see?
We saw Nick
Balotelli. Love doesn't get the fucking job done. A Goomba, Dago, miserable old man. And I talked to him on the phone. I try to get him to... when we're not on the TV, I'll tell you the various people I've tried to get here in person. Pay for, first class. The closest anybody got was 48 hours before they called me, or their lawyer called me to bow out or say no. But when I called Nick and we set up a meeting, he's arguably the greatest tennis coach that ever was. 180 or 185 champions, if I remember correctly. Famous for telling Andrew Agassi to fuck off in a newspaper article. That's how he quit, if I remember correctly, as his coach. But what's the takeaway from, other than I know love doesn't get the job done, but I mean, what's the takeaway?
What is the price of greatness, and are you willing to pay it?
Correct. And we have a thing called pay price to action. We all know how we lose weight. If you want to run a marathon, I used to say we all know how to run a 3-hour marathon, but now people are running 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-hour marathons, and they're running for the experience. You know, if I had to run a 5 or 6 hour, I wouldn't even bother. Yeah.
Yeah, but ego and legacy is a driving force.
Yep, ego. All these guys that you're going to see movies about have big egos. And the guys that you've seen, my mentees, that you've seen in the webinars, their ego started, let's just say it was this big, and now, and the more deals they do and the more success they have, the bigger the ego, you know. A couple of the kids, I mean, one of the kids that's coming to the hardcore, who's up there, I mean, I'm going to need a shoehorn to get his head in here. I mean, and rightfully so. He's done terrific, you know. And although they are guys like Roger Federer, who's a humble guy, you know, there are those kind of super athletes. But for the most part, even the guys with the big egos and the big mouths give back, help kids, and do all that good stuff. But you know, when I saw Cassius Clay, who turned into Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest, when he wasn't the greatest, and when he didn't even think he was the greatest. And part of it was insecure at the beginning and all the other things. But then you don't give yourself any plan B or C. You know, I'm going to knock him out in the third round or whatever he used to say. And that's why I don't believe in backup plans. What else about Nick? Yeah.
He had a mission, and he didn't let people and feelings get in the way. He used the advocacy guy as a tool to get too free.
Correct.
You know, and he wasn't worried about sitting, you know, where he was sitting and hurting people's feelings.
And he's an Italian kid from New Jersey or New York or wherever he was from, and they never played competitive tennis. Never was really good at tennis. And you know, I have a similar attitude about when I coach athletes. I was certainly nowhere near even a mediocre athlete, although I've had the pleasure of coaching some really world-class guys. Yeah.
When he said, if you asked me the name of my 8 ex-wives, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. Yeah, Bert.
I particularly like the part where he so nonchalantly, just when the wife gave him an ultimatum, packed up his stuff and left. And he said, even if I would have stayed, it wasn't going to work out at that point anyway. And my passion and my heart and what I wanted to do was be with the academy. And he went next.
Yeah.
We create environments for success.
Yep. You have just about the perfect storm with the processes, the tools, the procedures, the templates, and all this. And I say this quite often. I mean, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, these kids didn't have any of this shit. They had the book in 98, but from 93 to 98, there was no book. And the templates in the book in 98 were for written letters, not for emails. And they still got the job done. And but we had less of the snowflake effect back 25 years ago. When they came here, they were fucking serious. They were fucking serious. And and that was more or less, not at the beginning of the personal development era, because 25 years, I mean, personal development's been around longer than 25 years. But, and there weren't as many guys and gals doing it. What else about Nick? Yeah.
He wasn't making it up. He was just living it. He didn't understand another language. It was like part of him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand another language. And now, because of, almost 50 years of habits, from the day that I got commissioned in June of '67, I've had pretty much the same habits today as I did, 49, or no, actually 51 years ago. But I've been doing, in business, because I went back to school for 2.5, 3 years. But from January '71, when I graduated, finally, I was on the 8-year program to get out of school, 8 years, for a 4-year degree. But I was gone 3.5 years. But when I got out of school, I mean, since then I went crazy. Somebody else? Yes, sir.
If you lose focus, you will start losing.
Yep. And Andrew Agassi and Steffi Graf that are married and have had 2 or 3 kids. Now, unless your parents are world-class athletes like that, your parents have no clue as to how to train high-performance people. They don't have any idea, as evidenced by not just this group, but virtually everybody that's come through the seminar in 25 plus years. But hardly anybody has parents like that. I mean, 1 in a million, or I don't know what the number is, but certainly a very, very small percentage. But they are not just the exception; they're a super anomaly. What else? Yeah.
Along that line, I really kind of connected with where Agassi lost that big match, with the white kid who was like, I'm always being stepped on, I'm not number one, right? And he did it by fucking with his head. He got Agassi in an emotional state
You mean his stablemate, the guy that? Yeah.
Where he messed with his wife, a little bit blue kiss to Agassi's wife, and Agassi's like, "Arr," and then all of a sudden, doing the opposite of what Nick was doing. He's not getting stuck in emotion; he's just making it happen.
Yeah.
I just love that.
And of course, a lot of athletics at that level, especially boxing, as they play mind games. And of course, now they talk trash before the pay-per-view. But yeah.
There's also with what's happening here, it's a psychological warfare between the mentor and the mentee, breaking us down and forging us into.
Well, it's not much warfare coming this way, but anyway, you're much better in the ring. You're much better in the ring. No, but you're right, and we break you down. It's not dissimilar. Now they don't do this in boot camp anymore, but they used to break you down in the first 8 weeks of boot camp when you went into the military. And then they built you up the second 8 weeks in advanced boot camp, so to speak. Then you went off to various training centers. But then, when I went through in the middle 60s, they broke you down by physically breaking you down and hurting you because you remember, muscle memory remembers pain better. Not just emotional pain, but physical pain. And now, of course, we're too civilized as a race. We don't do that. But the Chinese and the Russians still do it. Pain is good, physical pain. The Chinese even use electrodes. We're going to see some slides tomorrow. And they use electrodes on kids to break them from the internet habit. Because they think I know it's a sickness. Harvard, they come out, and a few other high and lofty schools that I didn't go to have put out studies in the last 5 or 10 years that the internet is a sickness. And the Chinese have figured this out.
Several years ago.
Yeah.
In the Chinese version of the DSM, it's been a clinical issue in China for about 20 years.
Yeah.
They call it screen addiction.
Yeah. And it's true. And it's true. And when Sally and I, we were at the Le Grand Oui restaurant for dinner, which is one of my favorites. It used to be the Onassis hangout, where we'd hang the Onassis people. And when you go into Le Grand Oui, which is right across the street from Olympic Towers, which was their building, it used to be when you walked in the door, on the right-hand corner, there was a section like this with a round table, which was the Onassis table. And if it was empty, that means there was no senior Onassis people there. If there were people sitting there, there were senior Onassis people. Now it's part of the bar. But when we learned, and the Onassis people are, I can't speak now. This is back in the day when I was reporting directly to Costa Gratsos, Constantine Gratsos. And it's true, somebody emailed me a few days ago. I called him Mr. Gratsos when I met. He called me Mr. Peña. After a while, then I called him Constantine, and then I called him Costa. He always called me Mr. Peña. Never called me anything else other than Mr. Peña. He always wore, I saw him in his silk smoking jacket with a cravat, maybe half a dozen times. Otherwise, he was with a tie, and he never unbuttoned his coat. And that's how he dressed. He looked like he came out of GQ magazine. He was perfect, but they were very much into regimentation, and as I told you, I think the first day I told one of you, or I told more than one of you, when you see on the reports, I go asked and answered, and you ask why. I don't tell you why. I just tell you what to do, and I learned that from Costa. He said, "You know how much time, Mr. Peña, you waste on telling people why?" Explaining why, after 65 years, why I got to explain to this guy. And he never called people meathead or stuff like that. But so there's no whys. It's just do this. And but they were very much into the regimentation, and they were very much that if you couldn't learn after 1 or 2 times, you're out. I.e., my 3 strikes and you're out. Okay, I actually give you 1 more strike than they gave when I was there. Because wrongfully, because 30, 40 years later, the snowflake effect, if I wanted to give just 1 strike and you're out, everybody'd be gone. Which for me would be good because then my free mentor program is free for me. I don't have to do anything. But for those of you that Bert and Bill, I mean, just imagine one strike and you're out. I mean, there'd be nobody left. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
I noticed that all the people he hurt, it wasn't done maliciously. It was just instinctual for him to win. And if he ran over somebody, he didn't do it with some sort of
malice of forethought, as they say.
I guess it was a, what do you call it when people are killed in war accidents?
Collateral damage, collateral.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, when I started talk at a school, I'm not here to hurt you, but I will. I'm not here to insult your religion, but I will. I'm not here to damage your ethnicity, but I will. And if I leave here and you like me, I didn't do my job. And I didn't know that Bolletary is more or less the same. But the coaches of the past era were that way. The current coaches, although there's some fairly rough guys, but now the prima donnas, the athletes, they can't take the heat. They want to get paid $25 million a year for playing a sport that you played as a kid for nothing, right?
Right.
Okay? And now they get, $25 million a year isn't really a high-end guy anymore. I mean, some of these guys get a lot more than $25 million a year for playing basketball or baseball. I don't know about football. I think there's some guys that make more than 25 playing football. Some of the quarterbacks. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
His plan for the training was do it enough times so it becomes automatic and you were reacting rather than thinking. Correct.
And just as I practice for this seminar, an hour for every hour that I present to you guys, even though I've given the seminar a jillion times now, but I practice. But perfect practice makes perfect presentation, not poor practice. And when we get around to the Josh's role plays today after lunch, today after lunch. And I tell you, I used to practice in front of the mirror with that Great Dane back in the day. And if he stood up like he's standing in that painting, I had his attention. But then when he went down to pause, I had less. And then when he crossed his paws and his head went down, I knew I'd lost attention with him. So I used to do it in the mirror. But if you want a shock, film yourself. You'll throw up. You will even the guys that think they have a silver tongue in this room, which nobody does, but a couple of you think you do. I mean, you'll throw up. You'll toss your cookies. You'll get sick to your stomach. You won't be able to look at the whole video. You got a 6-minute speech, you'll be able to look at it a minute or two, and then you'll turn it off.
It's true.
Yeah. And I, about 18, 20 years ago, one of the Hall of Famers, we had a high-priced speech coach, and I decided to do the thing too, and they filmed me, and I'd gotten sloppy, and and even though I was pretty good, I wasn't anywhere near as good as I thought I was, and so then when you speak, you should speak with your hands in front. You shouldn't wave your hands like this because the people lose attention. You want them to be focused basically on this. And I gotten into a pattern, a bad fact pattern of dancing around too much and with my hands. And so, but film yourself. When we do affirmations and goals in a couple of days, a lot of the kids tape their affirmations, and a lot of the kids listen to the affirmations when they're asleep. Okay, so it acts at a subliminal basis on you. Some of the guys pay $5 or $10, is that right? Yeah. To tape your affirmations. So you've got this melodic, really soothing voice. On that note, okay, YouTube.